Today we are here in St Maries, Idaho. So we're south of Coeur d'Alene and we're down in this little town of St Maries. Thought we'd take a little look at this area, see what you think, and look at a few different properties over here. We're going to do a little drive through of the town and do a couple drone shots. Got the St. Joe River right here behind me, rolls into Lake Coeur d'Alene. And I just thought we'd see if this is a place that might interest you. Let's get after it right now. Hi, I'm Reed Wilson with Living North Idaho Life. And if this is your first time to the channel, go ahead and subscribe below. Tap the bell, leave us a comment, give us a like. Love to get your feedback, but we are in St. Maries today and we're just answering the questions of what St. Maries, this little town, has to offer here in the North Idaho area. Like I said, we are south of Coeur d'Alene. It's about an hour south of the Coeur d'Alene area that sits down off Highway 3, and we are about 20 minutes out of Plummer, which sits on 95. So I'm not sure if that helps you out, but we'll jump on the map and kind of give you a little better idea of this little community. This is a community of about 2,300 people. It's, it's not a big destination spot, but it is beautiful here. You have some of your main employers down in this area is going to be more agriculture. You got forestry, you got the lumber mills. They do have a little community hospital here. Mining is another in this area. So kind of give you an idea there of what you can expect here. There's not a lot of jobs here. This is not like right on the beaten path, so it's out of the way a little bit. As I came into town, I noticed gas was about 25 cents more a gallon than what we're seeing up in the Coeur d'Alene area. So cost of living is probably going to be just a little bit higher here, and that's probably because they got to bring those resources in. And we'll take a look on niche.com, which gives it a rating of a C+ is all. So in my opinion, most people here probably got a lot of family. There's something that's drawn them to this area. Either one of the employers, agriculture, forestry, one of those things. But you do get a lot of people that build just outside of St. Maries because you got all this beautiful land and acreage that you can go and develop. And then going further down, like into Fernwood and some of those areas, you can really get in, if you're just wanting to really get away from people altogether. There are some great areas out here that you can do that. As we drove in, you do have some of the flatter land, the agriculture, but just as soon as you head south just a little bit, you get some of these mountains. And here on the south side of the town, I don't know if you can see it behind me, and maybe you saw it through the, we did some drone shots where you can see that they do have mountains and pine trees and all that type of stuff. You're close to the south end of the lake here. So, if you are a sportsman and you want to do fishing, hunting, any of that type of stuff, plus, like I said, you got access to the lake. So if you're an avid hiker and mountain biker or biker, you're close to the trail of the Coeur d'Alenes. If you caught our Plummer video, like I said, we're only about 20 minutes or so out of Plummer, and about that far, about 25 minutes out of Harrison. So you got these beautiful places that are close by that might lend to being more of a destination type spot. But here you got a lot of these older buildings. It is a little more affordable here as far as housing is concerned, unless you're going to get out into some of this acreage. If you're just looking at buying some land, you're going to develop it depending on where you're at. But there is some, take a look at some of the pricing there with that. But I thought we'd take a look around. Some of the cons in this area, again, is going to be just getting here. You come down off I-90 through the Rose Lake area and in, or you have to come down from Coeur d'Alene down 95 to Plummer and you cut across. Either way you go, you have some windy roads. Some of those areas, especially coming down off I-90, you do have some sections where you do lose your cell service, and so those are things to keep in mind. This is in Benewah County, so you're in a different county down here than Coeur d'Alene, which sits in more the Kootenai County area. Let's take a look at some different properties here in the area and throw up a few different price points, and we'll take a look around the town and just see if this is a place that might interest you. As always, if you have any questions, give us a call, shoot us a text, book a Zoom call, whatever you is comfortable to you. Would love to talk to you and help you with making your decision if this is the areas that you want to be in, and would like to help make your move a smooth transition. All right, we are in St. Maries, and that's what the video is about this week. Let's give you a little bit of an idea where St. Maries is at. We'll blow this up here. And for those of you not familiar here with the Idaho, some of these Idaho areas, we'll look at over here is Spokane. The marker's not working. You got I-90, it comes on across, and then the Coeur d'Alene's right here. And if you take 95 down to Plummer and then head due east, you will hit the little town of St. Maries. You can also come this other way. If you keep coming down I-90 like you're headed east to Montana, and then jump on Highway 3, you can come down. This kind of a windy road, but it's beautiful out through there, and that will take you on into St. Maries also. So that'll kind of give you a little bit of idea of maybe where St. Maries is at. We're in niche.com here today, talking about some of these different gradings that they have for this area. Just take a quick look. You've got an overall C+, so it is a little bit above average, but this town does not probably lend to being a high destination place just because of the where it sits. It's a little out of the way, as you can see out here. Public schools, they give it a B-. The school systems there, we see a B for the middle school, a B for the high school, a C for the elementary. So that is why we're probably lending to that B-, the elementary. Up in the Coeur d'Alene area, Sandpoint area, our elementary schools are getting much higher grades, or graded higher with niche, and they rank higher in the state of Idaho. So that's just something to keep in mind for family, because if you don't have a particular job there, or you're not retired, there's probably, or family that's bringing you there, there's probably not a big draw to that St. Maries area for most people. Housing they're showing is a C+. I looked to kind of see what the housing was like there for sale as of today, and we're mid-September, and showing that there is about 35 homes on the market, and they range from about 185,000 on up to 3 million. So there is some really nice areas there that if you're looking for some acreage and you want to get away from kind of the hustle and bustle of like Coeur d'Alene being a resort area, there are some areas. So St. Maries area actually, will show all the way up into this area. So when you pull houses all the way up to about in here, they are showing, St. Maries address, which covers a big area. And so you can imagine some of these homes that may be up here with these lake views, or and don't get me wrong, there's areas along the St. Joe River out through here that just, has some nice acreage, or even up here in the mountains where, some nice, that will bring some nice prices. So they're showing a medium home value of $188,200, and I think that's a little deceiving. That's old information. I think that you're closer to about that 450 range now, especially if if we've got properties going all the way up to 3 million, and starting down around that 185 was the bottom. So at 188.2, that can't really be a medium price. So that doesn't make sense. So I would count on it being a little higher, but the upside to that is you can buy property there for $185,000. So, if you're looking for to downsize or a starter home, and you don't need to commute into Spokane or something like that, that might be something you would look at. Medium rent, even that's a little low. That's going to get you more of a 1 bed, 1 bath, 2 bed, 1 bath in that area. Your medium rent's going to be a little higher than that. So just to kind of give you an idea. C+, good for families. I don't have a lot of statistics on the good for families. It's a quiet little town, and I think they have a lot of that small town values. So I have to believe, other than you could probably do a little better on the schooling there. Good for families. If the job system was better and the cost of living was a little better, that would automatically jump up. Your job market there, it's agriculture, farming, some forestry, the mills are hiring, lumber mills, and then mining. And so those are the type of jobs that you're going to be seeing down in that area, other than probably your minimum wage and a little above type jobs, unless you're self-employed and have some type of white collar job where you're going in there and you're going to be a dentist or an attorney or something along those lines. So something to keep in mind. The cost of living, we jump right down there to the cost of living, where medium household income, $47,564. I have to imagine that's probably gone up just a little bit, but based on the type of jobs that are there, that's probably not too far off. Like I said, there's not a lot of high-paying jobs in that area, so that is something to keep in mind. Outdoor activities, there's a plethora. You're close to the lake. You've got hiking and biking and hunting and fishing and all those types of things that people like to do. You're close to you're not that far from Harrison if you want to go do the Trail of the Quarter Lanes or Plummer. You've got mountains, you got state of Idaho land, you got lumber mill land that you can gain access to go and utilize all that. ATVs, horseback ride, whatever you want to do, there's a lot of that. So I think that's a good grade for the outdoor activities. Now, the crime and safety was one that I thought was interesting. They didn't grade it on there, but as you look, as we looked at some of these other areas, this is pretty high crime in that area. And I don't know why, maybe because it's a small town and kids don't have anything else to do, but 214 assault, no murders shown, so that's good. This one's at 85.7, burglary 471, theft at 856, motor vehicle theft at 85.7. So those seem a little higher than I would imagine for a small town, but there again, maybe it's because there just isn't enough for these kids to keep busy with, and they're out getting in trouble. Nightlife showing a B. Diversity a B minus. I don't know why. It's a very conservative area. There's not a lot of diversification there. Your weather, your medium or average temperature in the winter is going to be in that probably low 30s, somewhere in there. They do get a little more snow than the Coeur d'Alene area. They show they average about 55 inches a year there, where Coeur d'Alene is about 42. You go over that Plummer area and it's a little less, but probably because it sits up against the mountains there, they're getting just a little more of that snowfall. Typical weather for the other seasons, you'll have summers that get up into the low hundreds. Really nice spring and late spring, early fall. A lot of rain and cloudy and weather coming in and out in your early spring and late fall. So just something to keep in mind. There is 4 seasons there. Health and fitness, I'm just imagining small town, people like to do a lot of outdoor stuff. If your outdoor activities is up to around B, makes sense that your health and fitness is there. As I drove around, I didn't notice that people were any more in fit than other places, but that's interesting, and they don't really have anything that backs where they got that information from. The commute, if you're just commuting around town, it's an easy commute in town. But if you're not commuting in town and you've got to go to some of these other places, I mean, to get over into, you are an hour drive out of here, and this is the best way over to Plummer and on up to get into Coeur d'Alene if you're going to be working up in this area or Post Falls. This way here, like I said, it's a windy road, and you do got to come over the pass here, the 4th of July pass, which is not that fun in the winter. Now, if you're over in the Spokane Valley area working, you can cut across and jump in over to here. You're about an hour drive into Coeur d'Alene. You're going to be probably closer to an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half into the Spokane Valley, depending on traffic. And then, you're down here. So you're a good hour and a half, hour and 45 minutes if you're working down here in the Spokane, like maybe one of the hospitals or something like that. They do have hospitals here, but that might give you an idea for commutes. To me, it's not a great commute to go into some of those areas. So I would not recommend, I would not want to be commuting every day out of the St. Maries area. So as we can see here, population 2410, it's probably a little closer to 2,500 at this point. I think that's about a year or two old. It has slowly been growing. And let's take a look at some reviews. Here's a 5-star, largely unknown full-service small town, so it's not as busy as more popular areas. Lodging is inexpensive, filled with hunters in the fall and boaters and fishermen in the spring, summer. That makes sense, but there's always vacancies. You can rent UTVs in town, just ride around like the others do. Small shops, you need to know where to hunt, lots of untapped nature. Definitely my top 3 in North Idaho would be number 1, if the road construction wasn't during the busiest seasons. Very green and gorgeous. So that was just a few months ago. Here's one of 5, but says don't move here if you can't handle snow, and each winter is different. This also overall conservative area, so please keep that in mind. Those are things we talked about. A good friend of ours says that he's liberal at heart and is miserable because of it, yet he collects arms and never misses a hunting season. So anyway, here's another 5-star. Let's look to see where, get down to some of these 3 stars. This was back about a year ago. I've lived here pretty much all my life, and there's lots to do in the summer, but winters are terrible and miserable, and there's very few jobs that pay a living wage. Perfect for if you're looking somewhere to retire or if you're on vacation, though don't recommend long-term at all. So a little bit kind of what we talked about. That was a 2-star. Here's another 2-star. Nice town, but there's also almost no snow in the winter besides this one. And sometimes the road's not maintained. No sunny days here. There is a river you can swim, but it's very cold, and it's very expensive to buy a house here. And what is this one here? Small town with beautiful surroundings, many nice people. There is, however, no place to go, nothing to do. I've lived here for over 40 years and watched business after business die out. Jobs are scarce. If you're thinking about moving here, please do your homework first. So I think that's a great recommendation. You know, if you're looking for a quiet place to retire, I think you know that you couldn't really go wrong there. There is a lot of great areas up through there. So, you know, St. Maries, just heads up, it does sit in Benewah County, and, you know, it does bump up against the Indian reservation. So, you know, just getting over here into this Plummer area over here is all Indian reservation through there. Whoops, no, I gotta keep going. Over here, we've got Indian reservation. Whoops, probably comes up here more like that. Comes down through some of this area here. So, and I'm not quite sure how far it goes out, but there is Indian reservation that bumps up to the St. Maries area. Just so be aware of that. You know, as you're looking at property, you know, we want to make sure it's fee simple and it's actually property that you can own if that's the area you're looking for. But yeah, I hope that was informative. I hope you text me, shoot me an email if you have any questions on any of the information we talked here, and we appreciate you watching. Go ahead and like and comment, and we'll catch you on the next video.